Welcome, everyone. I'm J. Michael Smith from Tyler, Texas, and welcome to Mentor Monday. We have a lot of new people joining us today from all over the world, from the Philippines to Africa to South America and right here in the United States. We've got a great Mentor Monday for you if you're just joining us on Zoom. And welcome to everyone that's joining us on Facebook as well. But come over and join us in the real room and turn on your closed captions. We have closed captions, and you can read this and understand it in whatever language you're speaking. And Claudia, can you mention that to the Spanish folks that are joining us?
Buenos días a todos. Recuerden que tenemos al doctor Vaughn desde Utah, pero es súper importante que prendan sus subtítulos en la parte de abajo de sus dispositivos. Van a poder ver al doctor Vaughn o a nosotros hablando en inglés y van a poder leer en español. Entonces es algo nuevo. Sigan ensayando. Si no lo pueden prender, nos avisan por el chat. Bienvenidos a todos.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you very much. I want to introduce my good friend who's down in the Caribbean on a beautiful French island, St. Martin. She's been with us for a few years now. Jillian and Claudia are best of friends, but Jillian's going to be our host today, and along with our special guest. But Jillian, how are things down in St. Martin?
I'm not going to tell you. Okay. Let's just say it's beautiful. I am blessed beyond measure. I am blessed to be, living a healthy life, and I'm blessed to be aligned with some amazing medical mentors in my life, not just, leadership mentors. And I'm really excited to get going. But those that are in North America, that are actually dealing with the storms out there, thank you for showing up. And number one, to those that actually have Wi-Fi connections. And I apologize, that I'm here, but you're more than welcome to visit. You're more than welcome to come down, join me on the beach, come on down. This is the beauty about what we have. We have an opportunity to help people with their health and wellness journey wherever they are, beyond borders, beyond limits. We talk about that a lot. So this is a godsend for me, having moved down to a small island. Not only was I here for my health reasons, but it gave me an opportunity to take my skill set and share what I love with others from the comfort of my home, even if some days that home is my beach. So sorry, guys, but I just need to let you guys be aware there are options out there. But today, I'm really proud, to be here with one of my medical mentors. And I did have the fortunate experience of meeting him in person in Utah, learned from him, got certified in transfer factor science. And that was really nice to do that. Thank you, Dr. Brent. And for those that don't know, Dave Daughtry, who typically hosts these calls, is actually on his way to Utah to go to the head office to have a special meeting. And I know they're getting excited about upcoming conference, but now today is all about Dr. Brent Vaughn. How are you?
Doing well. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you this morning.
Okay, that's awesome. And you know what, Dr. Brent, I hear there's some fabulous news happening in your life. Do you want to share what just recently happened?
Yeah, just almost exactly a week ago, my daughter gave birth to her first child and my first grandchild.
That's exciting. Oh my gosh. May I ask what her name is?
They have named her Ruby.
Ruby. Oh my God, that's beautiful. You know what? Who else is a grandparent here? Like, who else is a grandparent? Put hands up in the, yes. I know J. Michael, maybe you can help to help me with this little transition to the first question, okay? Because I have to say, health is no longer just personal, but as far as I'm concerned, it's generational. Like, our health is generational, because we all talk about how we're feeling today, but what about the legacy of what we need to contribute to our family when it comes to our health? So J. Michael, maybe you can enhance that.
Well, this might age me a little bit, Dr. Brent and Jillian, you know this, but yes, I've got 6 grandchildren, and my wife Judy and I have 11 great grandchildren. So we have our lives full of just amazing being grandparents and great grandparents. And you're exactly right, passing on and teaching our great grandkids and our grandkids the value of health it is a legacy, and it is passing on a wonderful legacy of health.
So we know we talk about health, but one of the things I need to know for the people that are live right now watching us, why is immune system education and daily wellness practices more important than ever now, Dr. Vaughn?
Well, I almost think that's a known thing at this point. Not too long ago, we all made it through a pandemic, and it had been almost 100 years for the one before that. I pretty much guarantee you that's not going to happen again. You're likely to see another pandemic probably every decade or two for the rest of existence. I don't think you're ever going to have that kind of a space again. And, we have no idea when or where something like that is going to happen again. And you've seen as we went through all of that, you didn't really know where the exposure was going to come from. And they shut down most of society through that to try and limit the spread. But now things are kind of back to normal and back to sporting events, back to concerts and other large group things. And you're rubbing shoulders with a bunch of people you've never met, and you have no idea where they've been, who they've been in contact with, what they brought with them to the event. And so more than ever, making sure your immune system is well supported and at its peak performance, it probably has more value than it ever has. And it's that kind of that uncertainty of life, I think, which really adds to this. And so the more you can do to be better prepared, the better life you're going to lead, or the healthier life you're going to have. And hopefully when those unknowns happen, you'll be better able to handle it.
Okay. So, you know what, and I appreciate that, Dr. Vaughn, for somebody that has, I lived and moved to an island, and a big part of the reason why I wasn't able to travel, it wasn't expected to be here. I was unable to travel back home for 3 years because of restrictions, and it was a big life change, not just about, being surrounded with what we're all going through, but in some cases it was very limited, and also with the exposure to others, but also being and restrictions that some people have to go through in terms of being able to get outside the front door. So, one of the things that, has been a blessing in my life and my overall health myself was the exposure to, and the education of transfer factor. But for somebody brand new or somebody new to what we're talking about, I just had this discussion with somebody recently, and I was trying to explain it to them in simple terms. What is transfer factor? And, I know it's education for your immune system, but what does that mean for somebody that's completely new, to the idea of adding transfer factor as part of their daily dose? Could you maybe help us explain it?
Sure. To me, I think the simplest way to approach it is transfer factors are a key component of your immune system communication network. In a lot of ways, your immune system is as and maybe even more complex than your brain. And all those nerves firing and controlling everything that you think and that you do, your immune system has a communication network just about as complex as that. And transfer factors are a key and kind of a unique component in that. They provide specific information to your immune cells, allowing those immune cells to more efficiently perform their particular roles. So education is the simple, easy word to use on that. But tying it into the fact that it's part of your built-in immune system, and we're just adding to that. So you're taking the knowledge you already have and borrowing the knowledge that the cows and chickens have gained in their lifetime as well.
Okay. All right. So you know what? There's a lot of research. There's a lot of publications, and I just quickly, for those people again just watching this for the first time, have even heard the term transfer factor. How long has For Life, the company that you align yourself with, been working to get this message out to everybody? How long, or maybe give a little bit backstory as to how this started?
Sure. So For Life started in 98. So 1998. We're now, 27 years been doing this. Transfer factors themselves were first discovered back in the 1940s. So this is something that isn't a for life discovery itself, but something that we were able to kind of borrow from modern medicine and modern science and turn into something that we could make available to common people without going through the whole drug route. But still borrowing from a lot of that level of research. And so For Life started off in 98 with David Lisenby licensing a patent from some of the researchers who had been studying transfer factors for several decades at that point, found a way to get this commercially available from cow colostrum. And then For Life has been advancing that knowledge and adding to the scientific literature now for almost 30 years.
Wow. Wow. So I can say that research builds trust over time then. I've gathered that. So this is really important to understand this for somebody like myself who, I was very much that corporate, no time in my life. Let's just grab what's on the shelf, whatever got thrown in front of me, I consumed, it's in my car. I never actually thought about, what I was internalizing, and what I was reaching, what I was actually, the advice I was given by what I thought were, in my best interest. However, over time, I learned that they weren't. So this is one of the things I want to remind everybody, even for yourself, and maybe you can help me with this, Dr. Vaughn, is like the aligning yourself with those that are prioritizing research and the patents and the quality that comes with long-term wellness practices is huge. And if you can do that early on in life, we go back to the generational, knowledge. You talk about transfer factor education. What about our knowledge and sharing that with others? Can we get better as a society in sharing that knowledge, Dr. Vaughn? Like, what can we do differently to make sure others in our family get this information?
I think I want to touch on the three things you mentioned there with quality patents and research, kind of in that order. As we're talking about products and where you go and who you align yourself with, those are three key things to think about. And I think quality probably gets ignored more than it should. When people come to me and ask, should I take this supplement, or what's good for me? Which company should I work with? I always tell them, I want you first to look at the company and then look at the product. The quality side of things and the quality of the company, to me, is paramount. Now, we spend a lot of money and a lot of resources on the quality of the ingredients that go into the products and the testing that goes behind them to make sure they're safe and they're effective and that they meet the claims made on the label. A lot of companies don't do that or don't go to that same extent. And your social media influencers will be touting this product or that one. This has made a huge difference in my life. You should try it. Great. But take a step back and look at that company first. You can go to the FDA website. You can see if they have any observations in their inspections and all that kind of stuff. The big things that they call them are 483s. That's a major observation that the FDA has. That's public knowledge. It's on their website. You can go look at it. If you really want to dive into it, you can do a Freedom of Information request, and they'll show you everything that the FDA saw when they went on the visit. Little things like they didn't have the racking far enough from the walls, or somebody forgot to sign this document, or they dated it the wrong way. All those little things will be in that Freedom of Information. You can see how good it is by looking at that. But if they have any major ones, that's just freely available. You can go look and see. But investigate the company first. Make sure the quality is there. For Life, we are typically visited about once every 3 years by the FDA. With staffing changes and other things with the new administration, we're actually well overdue for our visit now. But that's usually a 3-day affair. They spend 1 day in the manufacturing plant, 1 day in the home office, about a half a day just looking at paperwork, and another half summarizing everything and telling us what they saw. They'll write it all up. And then we have 15 days to give them a response as to what we will do to change or fix whatever observations they noticed. And there's always some little things that they come up with that they want changed. And that's usually some simple things. And most of the time, it's just dealing with the documentation on it, because there's a lot of documentation
Wow.
that go into the GMPs. So that's what we've kind of focused on. Patents, to me, are a benefit to the consumers, to the affiliates. And in essence, a patent is exclusivity for the end consumer or for you guys as affiliates. Right? It gives you an ability to sell something that no one else offers, and it gives some a little bit of science behind it, although patents technically aren't a scientific thing, but there are typically studies and stuff listed in patents, so you can kind of dig into the science a little bit with it. But more than anything, it means, especially in network marketing, this is a product or this is a technology you're only going to get in one place. And then lastly, for me, research, that one has become a big thing for 4Life. It's in the name, it's been there from the beginning, but it's something we spend a lot of time on from year to year. And right now we are publishing between 2 and 3 studies a year on our products. And these are peer-reviewed, published studies. So it's not just us putting it out there in the internet for people to read, but it's actually reviewed by other researchers who you have to sign off that this was good science, that the results match what was studied, and that the claims we make in the study are appropriate for the data and whatnot that's out there. And you'll see, if you're able to come to convention, we have 2 new human clinical trials that'll be discussed in detail on the PhytoFactor Max product that is being launched there. You'll see the effort we've put into that. And I'll say we've been very blessed with the results we've been getting from our research over the years. I don't know if people realize or fully understand how much of a gamble research really is. In a lot of cases, each of these studies are tens of thousands, sometimes over $100,000 each. And as we sign off on it and begin the study, there's no guarantee that it's going to show what we want it to. And that's just part of the way it is. We work with people that are reputable, that have done this kind of stuff, and so we know they're capable of doing it the right way, but there's no guarantee. And we've had a few studies that have not turned out the way we wanted, and that's a big expense and lost time. And so we do our best to kind of make sure we're measuring things that, based on the previously published literature, are likely to be impacted by the product, but it's never a guarantee that we'll see that stuff. And so for me, these are the things that make up a good product and a good company, and things that help build that trust that you talk about.
Well, just going back to good products and getting excited about the researches that you got, the company and yourself leading a team with, the scientists behind it. The upcoming Max or PhytoFactor launch, I believe it's called Max. That is very unique, right? So the Max represents the next chapter in plant-based wellness innovation. And I know you just recently won an award for that, but it's been something that's been happening for quite a few years leading up to the award. So people don't understand the timeline of what it takes to create some of the products that 4Life creates. So can you give me a little bit of insight of why this product is unique and why this launch is huge for those that are aligned with plant-based wellness? This is, for me, this is huge. Over to you.
Okay. Yeah. So the new PhytoFactor Max is the next advancement in 4Life transferceutical science. And one of the key components of that is a new ingredient that we're calling PhytoFactor. So that is a plant-based transfer factor. And if we go a quick little timeline for 4Life, right? It was, we already kind of talked, 98 founded on the patent from colostrum. In about 2003, we identified transfer factors in egg yolks. And that's been kind of the core transfer factor blend since that time. Now, we've always known that plants contained immune compounds. I know that's nothing really new, novel information there. That's been around for centuries. But we haven't been able to identify what are transfer factor-like compounds that also happen to be present in plants. And a lot of that has been just waiting for the technology to do that kind of research to be available. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, this has been about almost a 6-year process for us. And really, it kind of started when we came across a company that had amassed a database of tens of thousands of plants millions of compounds within those plants. And not only did they have that database, but they had the technology to be able to go into it and say, all right, you're looking for this type of structure that has this type of function. Here are the plants that meet that criteria. And so they were able to do that for us. That got us down to a few hundred plants to look at. And then they also had the capability of doing a rapid test to see which of those plants actually showed the activity we were looking for. Now, that technology just did not exist back in the early 2000s. And so there was no way of having that advancement really any sooner. But that process in and of itself took a couple of years to go through and identify the compounds and the kind of shape we were looking for and the criteria for it, as well as screening it down. And they ran that test on a couple hundred different plants. We identified a little over a dozen that showed the greatest activity in the area that we wanted it to be. And then we were able to further refine that. And then kind of really the hard part was, all right, now here's a list of plants that might work. Can we actually buy commercial quantities of a material that is concentrated in this particular, in the peptides that we're looking for in the transfer factor range? And so that took another year or so to identify a company that had something that we could buy enough of to supply our needs and that still performed similarly to the early studies we had done there. And just to kind of give you guys a little maybe picture into the future, we identified a number of plants that have transfer factor like peptides in them. And we were only able to find one commercial source out of that list. So as time goes on and we're able to work with other suppliers, and it takes about 3 to 5 years for you to identify a compound and then get the people to grow it, get the people to do the extraction, and then make the commercial quantities of it. So we're still working through ways that we can further advance the PhytoFactor brand, if you will, with some of these other plants that were identified in this process. And so there's still some advancements to come out of this. But I think that, for one, it's a plant-based transfer factor. And so plant-based is still, I think, a little bit popular these days, and people are always looking for a plant-based solution here or there. But for me, I think what is the best part is by taking the plant-based with the animal-based stuff, the egg and the colostrum, you're going to get a synergy you don't get anywhere else. Now, if plant-based is a key thing for you and you're looking for that, well, there's some other stuff at convention that may be of interest to you. But if you want the best immune support possible, then it's Transfer Factor Max and combining the plant-based transfer factors with our traditional ones.
Wow. So you mentioned the upcoming April conference. And I know you can't share everything, but I'd love for you to just give us little teasers as to what to expect. If you can share what you can, that would be great.
Well, I think, for one, if you want to get the best understanding on Transfer Factor Max, we will be going through both a deep dive on PhytoFactor and on the Transfer Factor Max product. So you will understand the PhytoFactor technology and everything that went into finding and creating that, and then how it works in conjunction with everything else that's in Max. We'll talk about the 2 clinical studies. We're actually going to have one of the researchers there to talk about his work personally, so you'll get it right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And then we have a couple other surprises that I'm not allowed to talk about, but it's going to be well worth your time. And if you haven't already learned, or I think, what is it, next week or so, they're opening up the opportunity to buy Max early. But otherwise, the only way you're going to get it is if you show up at convention. So
wow, that you heard that here first. Okay, that's awesome. So next week, there's going to be a lot of sales going through, I feel. So that's exciting. I'm really excited to see you again, Dr. Vaughn, at conference. I know there's a lot of people going to be there, but I would like to get to know you a little bit more. Okay. I had a great opportunity to meet you one-on-one, have some great insight conversation with you. This is the beauty about going to conferences or meeting people that are on the ground, that have the legacy and the inside scoop. You'll not only get to know them as a person, but you get to have these really nice, candid conversations with them, which is for me, is not only about the research And, I know the future of wellness is informed and empowered and proactive, but it's all about the people and the leadership behind the scenes that make an alignment come together when it comes to not only your health, but also the journey that you want to contribute to. So for me, Dr. Vaughn, and I know there's quite a few people on this call right now, how did you get involved with this? Like, what made you go in this direction when it came to, dedicating your time with pro-life?
Well, probably as probably mid-teenager, I got an interest in herbal medicine. And so on my own at that time, I bought a few books, started reading about herbs and the benefits there and looking at it. And I actually started my college career out in pre-med. So I went through and took all those classes in the hopes that I would end up in medical school. And it turned out that little quiet white boy wasn't all that attractive to the medical schools, and my grades and stuff weren't high enough to stand out above the crowd far enough to make it in. And so that didn't quite work out. So I decided I'd go back and get a degree in nutrition. That was, I thought, the best thing to kind of complement what I had been studying on natural medicine and the botanical side of things. So I got my master's in nutrition with a registered dietitian credential to go along with that. And then started looking for something in the industry where I could further my education on natural products, and ended up getting a job with another company in network marketing, also in supplements. And that turned out to be a great opportunity for me to just kind of study herbs. And I spent the 6 years there more or less just learning about all the different ingredients and learning the industry. And then, For Life came up and I looked at it, and the company I'd been with was very heavily marketing driven. And their kind of business model was, we'll offer everything to everyone, and if somebody else makes a product, we'll copy it and put it out under our brand. But it wasn't really science-based. Good quality products, but it was all marketing driven. And For Life offered me the opportunity to put a more heavy research focus on it, and to look, and all that information I had been collecting over the years and looking at the research and the studies on the products and the ingredients, now I could put that to use in a company like For Life, where that was an important thing. And so it was a nice match for me to be able to take those 6 years of education and then turn that into some really good products.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So, it's interesting because I know you met my husband and this is the first company my husband's got a science background, was the first company, and I've come from the direct selling industry. I worked in corporate and I had my pick and choice, whatever direction I was going to. But when I was on my health journey, I researched a lot of companies that I would align for a program I was doing. But this is the first company that actually got me when it came to the credibility and science and the patents, and not only just myself, but my husband. So my husband, for him to actually put his hand up and said, you know what, I'm willing to step forward and speak on behalf of this company, because this aligns with the intellectual properties that they share. For him, it was about credibility and trust. So thank you for that. I thank you for sharing that story, because now I know more about your backstory, and it aligns even more so. So the one thing I did actually bring up with you when I sat with you in person, and I think even my husband brought this up, and we're seeing this exponential change when it comes to AI, and education and guidance. I'd love for you to share your insight, and how do you see AI? This is my final question for you, and then I'll open it up for everybody. But I think this is a good topic to end with, because we have to plan our future. We have to plan our legacy when it comes to health. But AI right now is everywhere. And with education and guidance and the wellness movement going forward, that, with MAHA and the powers of be, where do you see us progressing when it comes to For Life and that alignment?
I think AI is at this point kind of a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's surprisingly good, and a lot of the stuff that comes out is usually close, if not right on. However, you always run the risk with AI that it's completely off base and it's missed something. And so I kind of look at AI the same way I look at social media and social media influencers, in that it's a great place to start. it can give you some ideas and maybe a little bit of guidance in what might be good or might be a little more tailored to your individual situation. But it's just the beginning.